Hello guys and welcome to ACM Reports. Today I'm gonna do a reflection of the now finished 2019-2020 Milan season. As a club we've had our ups and downs throughout the recent years, but the way we finished this season, I'd like to say, and I think I speak for most fans, that we're seeing a bright light at the end of the tunnel. So let's get into it, shall we? Maldini, a club legend, we all know him. As a sporting director, he has been great for the most part. He, in conjunction with Boban, gave us guys like Rebic, Ibra, Theo Hernandez, and Benacer. The impact of these signings have absolutely been undeniable. However, what perhaps impacted our season the most was the appointing of Gianpaolo. Now, Gianpaolo was known to have his teams play offensive and appealing football with a lot of passing, and just overall seemed to fit with what Milan was going for before the start of the season, which was of course Champions League qualification where Milan belongs. 7 games in and we already have 4 losses, and on top of that, several players were not looking too hot. In particular Calabria, Kessie, as well as Piontek, and many others. It was quite obvious Gianpaolo was not working, as we had the worst open play goals percentage in the whole league, and honestly, I cannot blame Maldini for it. He did his job, Gianpaolo didn't, and got canned. End of story. Some say he didn't get enough time to impose his game or whatever, and was appointed too late perhaps. Maybe it just didn't meant to be and didn't work out. So Pioli was hired. Now before I speak on Suso, I'd really like to thank him for carrying Milan on his back when we absolutely needed him the most. Now that being said, this was by far his worst season. Let's not forget Gianpaolo had him play as a playmaker behind the strikers, and to say the least, he choked big time. So much so that when Gianpaolo arrived, we started playing with a 4-3-1-2 formation, but with Suso's struggles, we eventually reverted back to 4-3-3. In the 16 games, over 1,300 minutes played before taking his leave in February, he amassed only 1 goal and 2 assists. For those of you that don't know, he was supposed to be our star player who dreamed of Champions League football. And on top of that, his not so hot stats just didn't really appeal with the Milan board that was running out of patience, and he wanted a new contract with a superior salary. They decided it was best to part ways, and for that, I must thank Maldini and Suso for everything. Now let's talk about Caldara. Caldara, I think, was perhaps the biggest disappointment next to Gianpaolo and Paquetá, which we will get into later. His previous season was riddled with injuries that kept him on the sidelines. He was supposed to have his comeback season, didn't really happen. Wasn't the case. In fact, it was another year of sidelines for the Italian international, and before you knew it, he asked for a transfer in January and he was back at Atalanta, having little to no impact on the pitch whatsoever. Okay, so in 2017-2018, Milan paid 20 million euros for 31-year-old Biglia, who also got a big payday on a big salary due to the contract he was given. That was not a great start. Keep that in mind. Adding salt to injury, in 3 years he played only 70 games of today, having scored only 2 times and assisted only 2 times in those 70 games. And I know, prior to his transfer to Milan, he didn't really score much or assisted much, but his performances left a lot to be desired and a sour taste in our mouths, just like I have now. So just talking about him, I'm gonna move on. Another player with a disappointing season was Piontek. Piontek, who was scorching hot the prior season. The Polish international scored 11 goals in 21 matches, played for the Rossoneri, and seemed poised to have an even better next season. The fans were behind him with his iconic Pistoletto celebration, and we thought we had another Shevchenko in our hands and couldn't wait for the beginning of the season. That's why it was an even bigger shock to the fans seeing the same striker struggle to get a first touch on the ball or win any headers, and ended his stint at Milan having played 20 games this season with the Rossoneri and having scored only 5 goals, with most of them being penalties. And now the big elephant in the room, none other than Paquetá. Now, Paquetá was another player who had a successful-ish last season under Gattuso and played a big part in the Rossoneri's pursuit of 4th place. That's why fans were excited to see what Paquetá could bring into a full Serie A season with his flair and personality on the pitch. However, it was a disaster of a season for him, as he performed worse than last season and failed to impress not only Maldini, but as well as Coach Pioli. So much so, in fact, that in the Rossoneri's last 5 matches, he only played 1, where he was on the pitch for a total of 11 minutes. Having featured in 27 matches this season, Paquetá only has an assist to his name that came in May of 2019, which makes it well over a year since his last contribution. The Rossoneri, having paid an amount close to 40 million euros, have placed him on the transfer market. However, they've had to slash his price as his value has plummeted, and the board don't believe they'll be able to recoup the investment made on the Brazilian. Moving on to a more positive light, and my personal favorite player at Milan, Theo Hernandez was one of the best signings we had this summer. For what has easily become the bargain of the season, for 20 million euros the left back had a fantastic season, having amassed 6 goals, 5 assists in 33 matches. The young Frenchman quickly solidified himself as Milan's #1 option at the left back position, as his formidable runs forward are extremely deadly, as is his left foot. Although he did suffer some criticisms due to his defending, Pioli made sure that is something Theo must strive to better if he is to become the best left back in the world. Many fans already claim him to be the best left back in the league, so working on his defending should be his priority. With that being said, he definitely impressed, showing his much improved defensive side of his game towards the end of the season. Now, Theo wasn't the only bargain Milan acquired this season. Benacer's transfer followed, and the African champion easily took his spot in the starting 11's midfield. The young Algerian is a joy to watch with his eye-catching dribbling, his defensive ability, and the way he stretches the pitch with his long balls forward as well as his runs forward. For a fee as low as 16 million euros, he also makes a case for bargain of the year. Another acquisition for Milan was Rafael Leão. Leão is a player to build on. The young forward has occasionally shown glimpses of his magic. His quality on the ball and pace definitely make him a huge threat to opposing teams. Having scored 6 goals and having assisted 3 times, his potential is unquestionable. Even though transfer rumors surrounding him are persistent, the Portuguese has assured the fans that he plans to wear the Milan shirt for many years to come. And finally, to complete Milan's most impactful summer signings is of course Rebic. Ante Rebic, having swapped clubs with Andre Silva doing the same, seemed to struggle at first, barely getting enough starting minutes in the starting 11, if any playtime at all. At one point, the Croatian international was sure to go back to his old club as he failed to impress in his first 7 games. However, due to COVID-19, the league was suspended for some time, and upon the league's return, Ante came back with a vengeance and caught fire to finish the season with 12 goals and 4 assists to his name in 30 games. As of today, he is loved by the fans, and Milan are keen to keep him as he came on a loan deal. Now let's move on to the winter signings with Salamakers. Alexis Salamakers came on as a loan with the idea of having him play as a right back. Then the severely underperforming Calabria and Conti were not impressive, and a new right back was urgent. However, due to Castillejo picking up an injury, forced Pioli's hand at trying Alexis at the right wing position. The experiment was not terrible, and Pioli ended up playing him again in the same position. Although he is young and a bit inexperienced in Serie A, he definitely showed some ability on the ball as well as making some good runs. Milan have already redeemed him and hope he can grow to become a good player for them. Simon Kjær was also another player that was important in the winter transfer signings. The 31-year-old Dane came on as a loan that has since been redeemed, and his work alongside Romagnoli was absolutely fantastic. He brought calmness to a rather shaky defense that had to count on defenders like Masaccio and Leo Duarte, and although he came on due to injuries picked up by both of the mentioned players, Kjær definitely earned his spot and is very happy to sign for Milan. And last out of the Rossoneri's transfer is of course Ibrahimovic. The 38-year-old came on as a free transfer to help Milan with his contribution, and boy did he contribute. Perhaps the most important transfer, as he brought amazing mentality and determination to the squad not even the team believed they had. He quickly became the leader in the locker room, and everyone else simultaneously improved significantly. He finished the season with 10 goals, 5 assists in 18 matches. Although many rumors suggest he was leaving the Milan side, recently he seems keen on staying for another year. Fantastic bit of good news for the fans, and he is beloved by the Rossoneri. Now, after the disaster that was Giampaolo's stint at Milan, Pioli was brought on to finish what most considered an unsalvageable season. At first, his results did not impress, and the Milan board started looking for options, mainly in the name of Ralf Rangnick. The Ralf telenovela lasted for months on end, as the season came on closer and closer to a close. However, Pioli's work on the team was recognized, and he signed on for another year at Milan, as the Ralf idea was thrown away. Pioli absolutely transformed Çalhanoğlu, who had his best spell at Milan since his signing. The Turkish international International has gone on to praise Pioli's management style and is currently happy to stay working under him. Players like Kessié, Conti, and Calabria have also improved, and Ibrahimovic himself has gone on to say he respects Pioli and his work. Thank you guys very much for watching. I will be doing more videos like this covering news, transfer updates, as well as transfer targets, so stay tuned.